Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Arrogant. In this video I'd like to show you how I solo tank in Tower of the Mad Mage. When I'm fully buffed up, this is the stats that I'm looking at with the gear that I currently have. However, currently I'm using a build which is lacking on crit and accuracy. However, I'm compensating that with combat advantage. It's just something I'm messing around with and testing, and for me it doesn't seem overly necessary to cap your crit and accuracy as long as you actually make up with those stats in other offense stats such as combat advantage. The powers that I like to use at the very beginning are here. As you can see on my bar, I'm using Smite, Sacred Weapon and Relentless Avenger. I'm also using a Forge Hammer of Gond just to give that extra reassurance that I'll be able to survive throughout the run. For my dailies, I'm using Divine Judgment as my primary daily at the very beginning, just to give the aggro nice and quickly, and then I'm using Heroism for when I don't have my Gond later on when I have lots of the Imminent Annihilation stacks. Alright, let's jump into it. I use my Relentless Avenger, then my first Smite, then I'm using that Sacred Weapon, and now keep on using those Smites just to make sure I maintain this aggro for this first Annihilate. Then I'm just going to press my tab. Once you press that tab, your shield will be increased to 75% in your max HP, which is very beneficial. You don't have to actually go into the full block to gain that 75%. Anyway, I'm switching back to Vow now since I've run out of Divinity, used it all up to make sure I have that aggro. I'm gonna stay with Vow throughout the whole run because I may as well. I'm switching to Binding Oath here instead of Relentless Avenger as I need more of that stamina regen. Here we have Whiteout. I should be able to safely enough just stay out here and take the hit fairly confidently. There we go. However, I didn't use my stab power, which I kind of should have, and that took a lot of my HP off. Build back up my stamina and my HP was nicely healed up, and we took that Annihilate, no bother. Using that Vow as soon as it's off cooldown, they have all called artifacts, so I just want to make sure I have that hard taunt procced for that artifact call so I don't lose it. Do lose it now, however, luckily it does phase him. See, on the top left there, my bar is orange. That means I'm within 10% of taking the aggro. Anyway, I take it back there nice and quick, just using the Vow before he manages to hurt any of the DPS. Using my Gaunt this time to just face block it nice and easily. Currently on 4 stacks. Things are getting more dicey as we go along. He'll do more and more damage on his at-wills, so you need to be wary of that. Here he's charging up the next Annihilate. I use my Heroism this time and my tab just to mostly block that, blocking it on my shield and my HP. Blocking this next one, was fortunate there that I was able to take that full hit nice and easily, but I didn't have my daily or my Gond on that one. You can see there his Annihilates are definitely starting to hurt here on 6 stacks. Here I'm going to use my Gond to block this one and my Unyielding Champion. So I did use the Divine Palisade to just eat up all my shield because I may as well have. You can see there he's absolutely just shredding my HP and shield. Here we have the final Annihilate, I believe, on 7 stacks. Uses that Heroism to buff that HP. And the DPS should be good enough to just phase him now after these charges. Those Arcane Blasts you can see dealing 500k damage to me per hit. Gets pretty nasty later on. Anyway, that was successfully phase 1, nobody died, nor me. And we're on to phase 2, just DPS check. Here there's really not much you can do. I prefer to just save my Divinity for the 3rd phase, just so I can make sure I maintain that aggro at the beginning. Anyway, I'll just skip over this. We easily DPS this down nice and easily. And there we go. We just prevented him from squishing us all to a pulp. And we move on to the 3rd phase. 3rd phase is actually not that hard as a solo tank. Phase 1 is the main challenge. To try and not die while you're stacking up all those stacks. We're on to phase 3. We all group back in the middle using that Sacred Weapon. And here's Super Storm. I should use my Griffin. Yep, there we go. And using that Binding Oath to just regen that shield for this Annihilate. Using my Unyielding Champion and just continually hitting. Accidentally cancelled my Unyielding Champion, so I just used my Gaunt just to be safe. Here's a Whiteout. I'm just going to stay out here. Use the Unyielding Champion. Block half of it on my shield and half of it on my HP. And thus actually using the shield that was gained from the Paladin shielder. Pushes this way. I take this Hypothermia with the healer. Looking for him in the sky. He's just opposite there. Ideally, after the disintegrate has gone off, you rotate to the other side and give combat advantage for the DPS, so when they use their rush powers, that they'll gain that combat advantage on it. Here I'm just removing my bulwark overload, which gives me that extra HP, because I don't actually need it. Here's another annihilate, just using that unyielding champion and divine palisade, and we're perfectly fine. The reason why I'm not using smite here is it gives me the opportunity to use my divinity to block a lot more using unyielding champion. I don't know, it makes it a lot easier. I also don't have to remember to smite, because if you're using smite, I sometimes forget to use it, and thus you end up losing aggro at some point, because you haven't been casting any hard taunts. That's if, of course, your own damage, or effective damage, can't keep up with the DPS. Anyway, you can see here on phase 3, the annihilate stacks don't really stack up too much. However, you can have a certain amount of DPS where it can be frustrating and annoying, because they have just the wrong amount of DPS, that you keep getting those annihilate stacks and they never expire. I've had that once or twice before, and that can be really frustrating. Just moving with my Paladin healer here, just to make sure he's alive, waiting for that disintegrate, weaving through these fire bursts and rotating to the opposite side, just to give that combat advantage like I said before. He spawns back, and we have another whiteout. Fairly simple. With all this HP, I can easily just tank it out here fairly confidently. Here comes the next annihilate. You want to be wary though, if you do take the whiteout, you want to make sure you're able to regen your full shield back for this annihilate, especially if you have a few stacks. Here's another annihilate. I'm just going to use my forge hammer, as I kind of panicked there. I didn't have much shield left, and in that regard I am on 4 stacks. Anyway, there's nothing special here either for me to do as the tank. Just keep taking those annihilates, hoping my stacks expire. You can see they just all expired there. I had 4 of them, now I have none, so it's just nice and easy. And then we quickly phased them again. Now you have to keep an eye out, right? His HP's on 25%. At 25%, there's a key thing that you have to do as the tank. These 2 fireballs will spawn, one north and one south. As the solo tank, it's your job to take both of them. So what you do is you move either north or south and take it initially. You can see a whirlwind to spawn in the middle. After taking the ball, you need to rush back to the middle, be fast enough, and get pushed towards this ball. If that DPS, the rogue there, had gone and eaten that fireball, this wouldn't have been a deathless run. Anyway, now what you can do if you're tanky enough is you can do what I'm doing. I'm basically just giving combat advantage, taking those disintegration waves on the opposite side, and just taking all that damage, and just giving them combat advantage so they can hit the boss during this phase. Otherwise, they'll just be standing there. This is the second disintegrate I'm taking. I'm going to be a third with a whiteout. So I'm using that forge hammer and heroism, and using that unyielding champion. And we got through that pretty easily. However, I do have, 3 stacks, and I didn't have any divinity left on that, so that was a bit... And we're going to take a good few more annihilates here, depending on how good the DPS are. Probably take just one more, using that absolution which I switched to for the fireballs. Have enough divinity for my unyielding champion for a split second there, just enough time to take the annihilate and then cancel it. Just weaving through these fire bursts, looking for him and moving away. At this point, your job is done. There's not much else you can do now, except contribute and do your part for DPS. That's about it really. I'm switching my powers just for more damage. I'm using my smite, sacred weapon, also that last class feature there which will deal damage to him when he deals damage to my allies. You can see all those numbers going off, and using that relentless avenger. I'm not sure if I use my daily here, but I will if we need it. Yeah, I did, and I got some pretty nice big procs on that, and the manticore bite from it as well. And there we have it, completed. Deathless run. I get my achievement and the title and the Halaster's cape. You get the title The Sane, and you get the achievement Master of Undermountain. So here's the Halaster's cape in my inventory, a free appearance item. It's actually the first time I got it on this character. Pretty cool. Here's my immovable damage on the chart there. I'll show you the other ones as well. First I'll pick up my chest loot. pretty abysmal loot in now in Tower of the Mad Mage. Saving my rerolls for the Zariel trial. Nobody died, you can see there, all zeros. Then we have the Mitigator, that's how much damage I blocked on my shield, 25 million. And then of course we had Field Medic, then we have Encounter, how many kills, and Pain Giver. And then Immovable Object, just how much damage I took from my HP. And that's it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.